All right, everyone, welcome to the Select All podcast. We're on episode 6 this time around, and today we're actually going to be covering about 2 different products that we have, and we are going to go into details about those products, and then we have a bunch of cool topics on what's hot, which are personally interesting to me. So we'll be kind of going into those as well. So
Think
Mo, why don't you take it off?
oh, I was gonna say I think these topics are we're gonna bring up are interesting for everyone. Could be a huge shift in the world.
Yeah,
But
that's a fair
yes,
point.
let me see if I had. Okay, start with the less exciting one. So our first product today is Tread. So Tread is if you guys have ever used like any of those virtual like debit cards like Koho, I think is in Canada, which I use. It's in that similar concept where it's a prepaid debit card. Um, I guess this gimmick is that um, it somehow is using your financial data or how you use this card to offset your carbon footprint. Which at first I was like, oh, this is a really neat idea. Like, I I guess if you
Yeah.
guys are environmentally conscious, like it's always a good idea to keep track of how you can reduce that kind of footprint just to help the world and stuff. But I'm thinking as I was thinking about it in more detail, like it's a cool concept, but I think like I actually didn't check, but do they even offer you a reward or anything? Like I don't see this thing catching on, like in my
Right.
opinion. Like with
Right.
Coho, at least you get a really good or a decent like interest rate on the amount you put in. Here it's just like you're trusting another company to do the offsets for you, which I feel doesn't make a ton of sense. Like I feel for this to be worth it, I feel like they'd have to give you a tax credit for your carbon offset, and then that carbon offset tax credit is more than whatever interest you would have earned, right? Because at the end of the
Mm.
day, like that's what people are really interested in. Like I'm sure there's way better ways to, um, reduce your carbon or yeah, reduce your carbon footprint, and I just don't see this being it. But maybe I'm missing something.
So I guess your main kind of concern is that how are they going to actually track if your carbon footprint is actually being reduced, and what is the benefit of the people, right? Like they're not gonna have an incentive to go on this if the only thing that they're getting is kind of like a meter, perhaps, or if that they're just kind of trusting that it is happening. Um, and why would I use this debit card versus any other debit card without knowing if it actually is happening? Is that your concern?
Exactly. Like I think it'd be cool if it just did that. I think this would work if it wasn't a debit card, if it was just a spending tracker, right? And at the end of the day, it tells you this is what you bought and this is how we estimate your carbon emissions, and like even make it a paid program, right? Because at the end of the day, if you could use that accounting to get like a tax rebate, like that makes sense. This to make it a whole debit card and make your transactions using this, I don't see it having a huge pull.
Right. And so, Trent, like, do you think you would get a credit or debit card like this? Do you think this is something that would interest you if you came across this?
Just to track my carbon footprint?
Yeah.
Probably not, but I guess it's more to it for the people that believe in helping the client more climate more.
Yeah.
um and not that's not to say that I'm not trying to help the climate, but I just don't have interest in that area, so I wouldn't go down that path to begin with.
So now, do you think if their proposition or their offer was, okay, we're going to actually give you back some of the tax credits that we're getting, and now you're gonna get some sort of kind of financial reward for doing this, then would it interest you?
It depends what the financial reward is.
But if you think about it, it's like you're
Yeah.
getting but I guess to get that financial reward you would actually have to change your spending habits, no? How,
No, no, no. I think
So
it's using your data to like pull that kind of stuff. And the way it reduces is like one. So let me just pull up. So it does give you recommendations on your spending habits and what you could switch over to.
Oh,
Like it does recommend brands like, hey, we noticed like, oh, this is a very side topic, but I recently started buying like wax saran wraps because they're reusable and like I find them better to use than actual saran wraps, right? And that's a sustainable switch. So it'd be something like that. So
Okay.
they do, yeah, and then they actually also, I guess, from whatever money they generate, part of it does go
Mhm.
into these kind of renewable
mm.
initiatives to help other offsets.
So it's more of it like will reduce the offset by portion of the money that we make. It's kind of like
Yeah,
those startups that they're like, if you buy one item, we'll plant a tree, or something
but I
along
think
those lines.
like this is hard. Yeah, it's hard to compete against another program where I forget where it was on. It was on Shark Tank or Dragon Tank or whatever, where like it
Dragon's
rounds
Den.
your Dragon's Den, where it rounds your purchases to the nearest dollar and it saves, invests that
Yeah,
or saves it. Right. I feel like that's a better like utility than this. Unfortunately.
interesting.
Yeah, I think I knew which app you're talking about. I think it was called Milo.
Yeah.
Milo, I think was the app, right?
Hmm.
Yeah, and the other thing is, when you're using credit cards, at least when I use credit cards, there's a certain intention behind the type of credit card that I use, because some of the credit cards may help me accumulate points that I could use towards travel or hotel stays, for example, and then some give me rewards in Bitcoin or cashback. So if I were to implement this into the credit cards that I already have, then it's competing with the other credit cards that I'm using. So now it's like, which reward plan do I want? So it seems like it comes down to the individual, what their values are. If you value, like it sounds like Mo does, where he values being some more sustainable, helping the why do I keep saying client? Climate that way.
Because you making money. No, just kidding.
What'd you say?
I'm like, because you're making money. You're getting those clients.
Yeah. So, if you're someone in that scenario, then this would be attractive to you. But
But
if you're
I'm saying
someone, Mhm.
even in that scenario, I don't think it's a attractive offer, right?
Okay,
Like I don't want to sign up for a credit card. Just like to me, getting this data on my carbon footprint is more valuable than using the credit card or a debit card, whatever. Like I'd rather, I, like my take on this is that make this a spending tracker, and then
hmm
at the end of it, it says like, okay, this is what your offset was. Here's how you can reduce it, or you could give us this amount of money, and we'll offset it for you, right?
I see. So what you're suggesting is maybe a feature where you could, something like Mint, where you could connect the credit cards that you're already using, and then it
Yeah,
tracks your transactions and your spending, and it tells you what transactions are sustainable, what are not, how you can improve, and
exactly. I
so on,
think
right?
that's
Okay.
that's a better value proposition to
Yeah.
me. Like
Well,
signing
Yeah.
up for a whole card and everything and using it, it's too much of a barrier, I think.
I think the
I
reason
guess
they.
from a bit.
Sorry, go
Go
ahead. Go ahead.
ahead, Cole.
Sure.
No. Go. It's your turn.
I think the only reason they did it this way is because this is one way they could actually make money. There's a business model of like credit cards that they actually do
That's what I
make
was gonna
money, and
say.
that's the only way they can actually do some of these projects. But if they're just doing a spending tracker, there's no way they're making money that
I
Yeah.
allows
mean,
them
Mint,
to do
Mint
it.
makes money.
Yeah, on ads.
Yeah, and like
Uh,
I guess you could take a bit of the offset, like that that's charged to fund the service, saying like a, 80% of what you're paying to offset is going to reducing your carbon footprint, and then like 20% goes into like keeping this app alive.
right. So if it was a paid service, you mean?
Yeah, exactly. Like this
Yeah.
offset part where it's like, okay, your carbon footprint is like 60 megatons. You can pay us $10 and we'll use it to fund projects that will offset it. And then from that $10, we're going to take some as like our commission or whatever.
Right.
So would you pay $10 per month for
100%.
this? Oh, okay.
If it's actually reducing my footprint, yes, 100%.
Okay.
Wow.
So you're suggesting a business model where it's sort of like you're donating towards this, right?
Yeah,
You're okay. It's like a donation, and then they obviously take a little bit of a cut off of the top because they're putting the platform together.
yep.
So
Okay.
basically, it's like a non-profit. They could create a non-profit, and I think it would still work.
Hmm.
Hmm.
So I would say this is in the category of social entrepreneurship. That's been like obviously a huge thing in the last like 10 years, and so this
Yeah,
actually
especially towards climate change, right?
exactly.
Yeah.
No, it's
All
good. I,
right.
I think some of these things will take off. But hopefully, I do agree with Mo. I think if it was across the board with multiple connecting to multiple cards, that's actually more powerful, and you have a larger market because the kind of well, the issue with this is just the restriction, or sorry, the word I'm looking
Yeah,
for
it's
is
very niche.
yeah, it's
Yeah,
It's
niche,
very
but
like
it's
niche.
also
you can
the
even make money off of this reduced part where they sorry, where was it? The yeah, you can like I guess allowing other brands to market towards
advertise.
you, right? Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, no, I agree. And also, the word I was looking for is resistance. The resistance to use your product shouldn't be hard, right?
Yeah.
And so the
Mm,
thing with Mint.com is it was so easy to just plug into your account. Even that could
yeah.
have been better, but it was quick enough that you could just get results right away. And with this, it's like you have to sign up for a card. How long does the card take to come to you? And then you have to actively think, okay, I have to only use this card to actually have my tracking kind of enabled. That's just too much and too many steps to
Yeah.
get to there,
Hmm.
right? So
Yeah,
Uh,
yeah, it would target. It's targeted for someone who's all about saving the climate and being sustainable, and there are people like that. But it's a very niche market as
but
of
mhm.
now, at least.
that's my
Yeah,
exact point is Mo's in part of that
yeah,
market, but it's like it's that market plus the ones who are really willing to go the extra step to get this credit card, and then out of that market
yeah,
is who will actually end up using that
Yeah.
on a daily basis,
yeah.
right? So they're really reducing their market, to be honest.
All right, let's move on to the second one. Second one, I think it's a bit more interesting.
Yep.
All right, our second product is Taplio. I saw this on Product Hunt. I didn't have a chance to like play around with it, but the concept was very interesting to me. This is I think an AI tool to help automate your brand on LinkedIn, right?
Interesting.
Oh
Like,
wow.
yeah. So create like I guess it auto generates LinkedIn content, scheduling posts, and then monitoring your results, which is quite interesting because if you know how to play the LinkedIn game, you can do really well for yourself.
Really? Yeah,
Yeah.
I believe it. I
Yeah,
just
I've
wonder
heard about it.
how good their content creation is.
Let's see. Content with AI. Stop wasting endless hours writing your next LinkedIn post. You get ideas, and then it will write it for you.
Wow. So
So I guess it chooses ideas, it generates posts, um, and then I guess it keeps like a history of all the other posts that went viral on LinkedIn. And then I think this is pretty cool, scheduling your LinkedIn post, because as a business, I think this is pretty handy. Um, and then yeah, I guess it's like a personal like marketing tool
It's
for LinkedIn.
personal marketing assistant to help you
Yes.
with your posting and automation behind that, right? That's
Yeah.
actually pretty cool. That's actually really cool. I'm gonna actually check this out
yeah,
after.
same. I was like looking at this. I was like, oh,
Yeah,
interesting. This is not bad. Um,
yeah.
I wonder how targeted those posts are. Right. They do need to be a bit more personable, but it would be
Hmm.
interesting to kind of bring this up during our Chat GPT kind of
I was
conversation.
literally thinking that.
Yeah.
What I literally did was I went on ChatGPT right now. Maybe we can save this for a conversation after. But so Mo, you could create posts right with
Yeah.
this. So
Yeah. It
it sounds
says,
like you can feed it a topic and then it'll create a post for you
yeah.
based on the
Yeah.
topic you feed it.
Our
Interesting.
AI analyzes your LinkedIn account and what you like to post about. Then it comes
Yeah.
up with LinkedIn posts you can edit and publish.
Wow.
Interesting. Yeah, we got to talk about this when we
This is
talk about
interesting. We
Chat
automatically
GPT.
detect the latest news in your industry, so you can easily share them with your network while adding your own personal comment.
Wow.
Nice.
It is interesting, but it's like I'm wondering how. And again, we'll get into this a bit more when we do the Chat GPT conversation. But I'm just thinking how personal does it become if everyone starts using these chat AI bots for their marketing? It's like the content is going to be
Yeah.
fairly similar across the
You know,
board.
that's a comment for the Chat GPT one, and I have
Why
comments.
don't we transition? Why don't we
Yeah.
transition into that?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
Last
Yeah.
comment. It's quite expensive. $39.
yeah.
Ooh, interesting.
But it's like
I got.
let's go
Yeah,
into
go
the
on.
price
But it's the
versus
value, right?
There you go.
Yeah.
Price versus value
Exactly.
conversation, right?
Yeah.
If this lands
So
you a
like
$180,000 job,
exactly.
the $39
Or more
is pretty value,
clients.
or more
Yeah.
clients, exactly.
Not to forget the time that you save by automating a lot of the tasks, right? You could put
Yeah.
that time towards meeting with clients.
Exactly.
So yeah, no, this is interesting. This is
Yeah.
very interesting.
All right. Let's dive into Chat GPT.
Do we want to do that, or do we first discuss the Airbnb listing service? And because the Chat GPT conversation, I feel is going to be a bit longer.
Maybe we should just go into ChatGPT because we're already on that topic, so it's a nice like
Okay, sounds
easy,
good.
smooth transition. And
We'll
then you know
scratch
if we keep talking about that, we keep talking about that, and maybe we save the other conversation for next week.
Okay, sounds good. So, I'll Tarana, why don't you introduce Chat GPT, and then we can go into a bit more.
For sure. So ChatGPT is essentially an AI. It's a tool that uses artificial intelligence that can provide you information based on the questions and what you're looking for. So it's essentially think Google search when you're searching for something like what is Bitcoin, and then you get a list of articles and blog posts based on keyword searches and what Google search is able to spit out for you to look at. And then you go through your own research and you figure out, what's reputable, all that jazz. Essentially, what Chat GPT does is you put in that same question, and it gives you an answer. It spits out an answer based on the maybe Cole, you can speak to this based on the algorithm that takes a lot of the data that's built into it through, I guess, the various blog posts and all on the internet.
Correct.
Is that fair to say?
Yeah. So exactly. What Chat GPT does is it's actually built by this company called OpenAI.
OpenAI.
And what they did was essentially get a lot of data, textual data, of course, and from Google, and they even specified that it doesn't actually understand events before 2021, right? So all the data is after 2021, and it's extracted a lot of data probably and inputted into this AI model. And the AI model has learned about various topics across the board. And so if you asked it, for example, what you just said, like, what is Bitcoin? It has probably scoured hundreds and hundreds, if not thousands to hundreds of thousands of different articles about Bitcoin. And after understanding that, it has created different nodes and understanding of what Bitcoin is. All right. And so when you ask it what is Bitcoin, it will be able to kind of spit out exactly what Bitcoin is. It's a fairly interesting concept, and I wonder how it'll be. So, Mo, question for you, because I've been hearing various sides. There's like people in the community of the software community saying it's very interesting. It's going to change the game. There's GitHub code spaces and things along those lines. And then there's another half of the community saying, all right, this is overhyped. It's not actually going to be useful. It's kind of overblown and etc. So which camp are you in, and what do you think about that?
I don't think it's overhyped. I do think it's a bit dangerous without the proper usage, but I don't think it's
Mm-hmm.
overhyped. Like I mean, I'm sure someone in Google already knew this was coming up, but Google search is probably shitting their pants because
Yeah.
Google search has not been useful at all for the last, I want to say, 5 years. Like, I don't know about you guys, but I always search with like, don't search Google, search Reddit on product recommendations or like anything, like opinion on something, right?
Yeah.
And I think this is just going to replace that because I don't know about you guys, but like I remember I was searching like a very simple question on how to do something for a video game, dead simple. Like back in the day, it would give me the top answer and it would be correct. This time I went to go search, it was literally I was reading it and I'm like 100% an AI wrote this because it's just reusing words and it's not telling me an answer. It's like
Mm.
open, go to your settings and then click options. And then I'm like, okay. And then it ends. I was like, bro, like this is
That's
like,
an
it's
okay. So
terrible.
you're saying which part of Google told you that? Is it the things that pop up like with those answers, those questions, and then those answers?
What I'm saying is that like a large portion of content on the net is already AI generated. Like
Mm.
all these random sites, all these random blog posts, they're trying to game this SEO system.
Right.
And if this is, from what I can tell, this is going to gain traction because it's already pretty useful, and people are just going to use this to basically over bypass Google because I find Google unusable these days. Like that's
Interesting.
actually, yeah.
Yeah, because I know a lot of times I've been recommended, and most people are they go to Google to search like how do you do this Reddit like in quotes,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
and so it's because people are able to answer and kind of get into details, and it's a testament to the Reddit community as well, right? But the reason they type in Reddit is because they want a direct response from people at a curated response, right? That actually gets
Mm-hmm.
into the details, and I think that's what ChatGPT has replaced. They've replaced the answer mechanism within Reddit, right? Where now you can just go there, post something, and get an answer immediately versus waiting for someone to answer your question, right? So that's fairly interesting. But yeah, from I know from a tech insider perspective, I get um, I understand a little bit of how the AI is working and things like that. I do think it is going to be dangerous. I don't think it's going to be general AI anytime soon, but I could be wrong. And I think it is going to replace a bunch of people. But what scares me is, like, for example, this marketing aspect. We just talked about LinkedIn. How does it actually affect people that are in the marketing world, even in the code spaces world? There is generating actual software now.
Mm-hmm.
You kind of
Mm-hmm.
say, okay, I want to get this type of function made, and GitHub Copilot, I believe it's called, will generate that code for you. How do you think that's going to get affected? Do you really think it's going to displace a bunch of industries?
Uh, I mean, if ChatGPT actually generates non-cringe LinkedIn posts, I think that's a change for the better.
Yeah.
But I don't know. I haven't checked out Copilot yet. Like I'm still on the fence at how existential it is for our industry. At least those of us in software. Like I don't like software is pretty damn complex, and I don't think the complexity is from coding.
Right.
Unfortunately, the complexity is dealing with people and requirements.
Yep, fair enough. And then Turan, like from your perspective, is someone who's kind of not in the software world, but you obviously are relying on information a lot, right? And you need answers to some of these things. Do you think it'll be useful for you in terms of your industry?
Yeah, yeah, for sure. In fact, I was playing around with it today, and I was just typing in questions. What is Bitcoin was one of them,
Yeah.
and I was typing questions on concepts that I understand to see how valid and accurate the information that the AI is spitting out. And it's pretty damn good. It's pretty damn
Yeah.
good. And I went to an extent where I typed in various questions with regards to what is Bitcoin, where I said, what is Bitcoin? What is Bitcoin if explained to a 5-year old? And
Mm.
it actually varied the response, and I was pretty impressed. And then I wrote, write me a blog post, write me a detailed blog post on Bitcoin. And then it gave
Mm.
me an even detailed answer that could have been fit enough for me to put on a blog post. And I'm just like, whoa,
Do you
this
think
is pretty powerful.
maybe you should Google if that blog post already exists? I hope it didn't just like copy and paste and be like, here's a detailed one.
Yeah,
Honestly,
I'm
that's a
sure
good
there's some
idea.
guy. No,
Yeah.
it's not a good idea. There's
No, good
already.
idea. Good idea to test what Kulwinder is saying is what
Oh
I'm
yeah,
saying.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
But I'm sure there's already people working on tools to hook into Chat GPT and generate
Oh yeah.
content, and it's not a good sign.
Yeah, so there's two questions there. One side comment I want to make is there was a thread of on Twitter where this guy was coaching a entrepreneur who's like a he I believe he cuts grass and things along those lines, right? And so but his English isn't up to par. He's from a different country, and so what they did was he actually would reply back to this Chat GPT, and it would say like coming Thursday 6:30 will be there, do work, right? Something like that. And it generated a professional email that he could copy and paste and now send to his clients, and it sounds like we'll be there Thursday, thank you for your consideration, it'll be 6:30 p.m. and he would just take that and now copy paste it, and now he has that conversational. He's a good entrepreneur, he understands that, perhaps he's a hard worker, but now it allows him to sound professional to actually do the job that he was hired for, rather than kind of dealing with emails and things along those lines. So I thought that was cool, right? But in terms of the point of, sorry, Trent, did you have something to say about that?
Yeah. So that's what I was doing. I was playing around with it, and then I went ahead and actually, when we were talking about the Taplio product and how it does the AI and can create posts for you. So I was like, okay, I know ChatGPT can probably do that. And I did that. So I just typed in, give me a LinkedIn post on the topic of budgeting. And it gave me a proper post with concrete tips on how to budget properly.
Wow, that's
Yeah.
amazing. I'm
Yeah.
just
So it,
I'm I'm just kind of scared about like everyone using ChatGPT. It's like, what's the point of getting all these like, think about 10 different people, right? 10 different people using ChatGPT for the same concept, which is on budgeting. How varied do you think those answers will be and the blog posts that it generates? And if 10 people do the same, it's the same information getting
yeah.
across the board, right? And so if it's a single source, the source isn't going to vary very often. And if it is, then it's cool. Then I understand. If it can take in some sort of kind of twist on budgeting, or you're trying to introduce a new concept, because when we write, we still will write in a different manner. But if ChatGPT is writing, then how varied will it be? And what is the value that you're going to get from the same perspective, right?
Well, that's the thing. That's what's. I mean, this is a wider topic outside of Chat GPT, but I think there's in AI models there's enough of variation that you won't always get this exact like answer, but maybe I'm wrong. But there's already AI models that take how people wrote or how they talked, and they take that to generate other content, right? Like there's an AI generated podcast with Joe Rogan talking to Steve Jobs.
Oh
It's
yes,
all
No
I heard
way.
about that.
AI yeah.
Wow.
But at the end of the day, like I think this is important for the public to realize. And AI seems like magic, but it's not. It's just a very smart reflection of what we are, right?
Uh,
Yeah.
Like at the end of the day, sorry, go on.
no,
Like at
finish
the
your
end of the
point.
day, it's just like it's not really generating new content. It's just understanding it and reprinting it, right? It's just
Yeah.
a fancy copy. So like if everyone relies on this, there's no new content being generated. It still needs humans to understand a concept and then write about it for it to understand it. You know what I mean?
Yeah, maybe it's
Yeah.
our rudimentary understanding about it, but yeah, sorry, Troy, go ahead.
Yeah, no, that I completely agree. I think it should be used as a tool for now, at least, to enhance what you're already doing. Uh, right? It shouldn't be used to depend on. If you use it to depend on, I think you would be easily called out by whoever the reader is. I think it'll be easy to to spot that. Because to your earlier point, Cole, about we are not familiar, we haven't played around with it a whole lot, but we're not sure how much of the same information is regenerated again, right? So then now, what I was immediately thinking was, if from a, say, a marketing standpoint, you have 10 marketers putting up a certain blog post on a certain topic, and if it all is very similar, the reader is not going to get the value that they require, because everyone's talking more or less the same thing. So that's when I feel it's up to the individual to enhance that post even more, to add their own flavor to it, because this is not going to give you your flavor. You have to add the flavor to it, and that's what I see, and that's what I understand right now.
Yeah, I've been kind of toying with this concept. I've talked about it before, publicly as well as like in private circles, and I think um, I don't know how far this will go, but I was kind of trying to steelman this out and see, okay, how far can it go, right? What's the farthest point AI could go? And if you look, think about it, like do a thought experiment and be like, all right, what's the end goal of AI? Let's say it has gone to the heights of it. Then what does that world look
Mhm.
like? And I thought, well, then all that remains is it's it's going to be your imagination, and it's printed into the world because AI has removed, essentially gotten 100% leverage, right? So think, if you're thinking about how to create a movie, right, or you have a concept of a movie in your head, the the point from concept of a movie in your head and the storyline to the end result being on screen in theaters costs hundreds and hundreds of millions of dollars sometimes, right? And the
Mhm.
reason that it costs that much is because you need, first of all, editors, you need writers, you need producers, you need directors, you need actors, you need kind of production environment, right? So and sets and cameras, etc. There's so much involved for that product to be created. Now, think, you just have a concept in your mind, and an AI can create realistic characters. It can use realistic people. It can take in the storyline. It can take in the script and act it out just how you have it in your script. And now it can create a video, and it's there. You've reduced that hundreds of millions of dollars worth of production, excuse me, into like probably $10 because the computer
Yeah.
is doing it. Now, what that becomes is you've thought of something and it's created, it's printed into the world, and it's a concept I'm trying to call idea printers. What people will become are idea printers, right? The AI has insane leverage, and you think of something, you imagine it, and you print it into the world. So, when they discuss, okay, what will the jobs be in the future? I'm thinking in this future that AI has insane amounts of leverage. That's what excuse me, that's what people become. They become idea printers. It's what your imagination is, because that's the one thing that AI can't do, is figure out what your imagination is going to be. it
Mhm.
might it might try to predict it, based on your previous generated kind of ideas. But that's one thing that I think we will become. It's like you have an imagination, you think of something, and now you want to create that. Now you have insane leverage to do that concept. And this doesn't apply to just movies, but it applies to, like, I don't know, like realistic manufacturing components, etc. Sorry, go ahead, Trent.
No, I was waiting for you to finish there.
Yeah, I'm done. Yeah.
Oh, okay. So yeah, so to your point, how do you think that would affect creativity? So are you saying that it wouldn't affect creativity because you still are able to imagine the idea, and then you get the AI to create it? But isn't there some benefit and fulfillment in the creation process? And by just becoming an idea printer, you're not getting that experience of creating the actual product,
I
right?
think
I
I
agree.
think with this AI stuff, like it's been something I've been thinking about and writing an article about. It's like with the advent of the cameras, that's what like really started to put like real art into like the abstract, and like that's like the impressionism movement and all that. Because when you had a technology that perfectly recreates what you're trying to paint, what's the point of trying to paint something realistic? Instead, you have to paint or create something that the machine can't see. So I think in the creative fields, this is going to be a similar topic where how can we prove that like our art is still human generated, right? Like how can we show that this a human thought process was needed to like display this idea?
Yeah. I to going back to Tran's point a little bit is I agree with that completely. Like I was just trying to think what it would go to and what would it would become. I'm not
Oh
saying
yeah.
it's good or bad. I do agree
Oh,
though
for sure.
is I get fulfillment in actually creating something, right? Like even when I'm programming, there is that process that we talk about. That the
Yeah.
process is what I do like, right? Even though I get frustrated sometimes when my Kubernetes cluster isn't starting up or something, you get frustrated. But then when you get over that challenge, you feel better because you're like, oh, I accomplished something, right? And now if I just think about it and it shows up on the screen, I don't know if we'll first value it that much, and secondly, I'm not sure uh, if it will be as fulfilling as you just said, right? So I agree with you.
It really depends on how society takes on this kind of stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Correct. I do think this conversation can go for hours. I really
Yeah.
think it is a deep conversation that has to be had at even a societal level. But we will stop for today. We could probably go into it a bit more detail in the next coming up episodes, so check those out. But we will want to answer that last question that we always have, right? And Tran had posed that last question: is which music streaming service would you keep if you had to kind of get rid of all the other ones? So Mo, what is the streaming service that you would want to keep?
Apple Music. No, I'm joking. No, fuck that
I was
shit.
like, what?
Spotify. Come on, like there's only one answer. It's just Spotify for now.
Thank
Like
you.
it is what it
Thank
is.
you.
I don't
Spotify
know
as well.
about
Tran's
that.
gonna
I don't know
disagree with
about.
this, but let's
I
go.
don't know about that.
So try and explain
Yeah.
your reasoning, because both of us are on Team Spotify.
So I was on the Spotify camp. However, YouTube Music has been my go-to. And I know Mo's shaking his head because he hates Google. but but from the standpoint, again, I guess it depends what angle we're viewing it from. I'm viewing it from the angle of what value I get from paying the same amount. So YouTube Music costs the same amount as Spotify Music. However, with YouTube Music, the added benefit is I can watch YouTube videos and I can skip ads. I don't have to watch ads, and I can turn off my phone while still listening to a video, not the music, a video. And I think there's great benefit in that, just from someone who loves to to a lot of podcasts and not necessarily music, and likes to
Right.
listen to various conversations on different topics on video, on the video format, but doesn't necessarily want to watch it. And
Right.
so that's the viewpoint I'm coming from. Maybe strictly from just listening to music, yeah, maybe Spotify might be better. But again, even from that experience, my experience with YouTube Music has been awesome. It has playlists that are built in from people that create, just like how Spotify, where users can create playlists based on songs and that nature, and then it's shared with the public. YouTube has that too. I don't think it has the wrapped feature, which is really popular at the end of the year because it gives people, for some reason, I think it's in human nature to love looking at stats and analytics, and
Mm,
people just like looking at the top music they like listening to, that they have listened to during that year. But yeah, so in summary, YouTube Music over Spotify for me.
Nah,
nice.
I used to, my original music streaming service was Google Play Music, for those of you who remember.
Bro,
Yeah, same.
And
yeah, I remember that. It
and
was
it's
garbage.
just it was garbage. Like it was just so bad. And like honestly, from then they lost me as that. Like I actually pay for YouTube Premium because I also watch a lot of YouTube, but like
Okay.
I would not use it for music. Like I just use Spotify.
Really? So you have a YouTube Premium account and a Spotify account, and you're cool with that. Okay.
Yeah. I mean, because for me, the value is not from the music part; it's from the YouTube with no ads, right? Like to me, the music is something I don't even touch. But
So
that's
what's
So
just
the
you
me.
value
already
spot?
get it
What's
though.
the value?
Huh?
You already get YouTube Music as a part of YouTube Premium.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah, that's what I'm saying. That's the added value. You get both for the price of one. So I guess my question before Cole gives his viewpoint to you, Mo, is what is the value that Spotify is adding through their music service that YouTube Music's not providing?
I have to check the difference between the libraries. I just think it's a better experience. Like it's a custom built thing for music, right? Plus, like
Mm.
all my family signed up to it, and like getting my mom to move from Spotify to YouTube would just be too much. I'm like, nah, just stick to Spotify. This is good enough. Um, but yeah, I just don't have faith in Google outside of for a lot of things, except for YouTube. So that's why I pay for premium. But for music, no, they lost me with Google Play Music. So that's that.
That's fair. I think partly it's to do with the brand name, right? Like we are kind of, even though we feel like we read a lot about marketing and we don't fall prey to some of these things, but we do. We definitely do. And so
Hmm.
Spotify, I think, was the kind of the first mover, big mover, and it's gotten me. But also, fair point to Mohammed is like the family plan. It gets six people on it, right? So
Yeah,
I pay
that's
for,
fair.
and I have like everybody on my in my family on it as well, right? So I think it's a bit easier in that front. Whereas with YouTube, like premium, you're only paying for one account, right? And it's linked to your Gmail probably or your Google account, right?
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So
that's a good point. The family plan is quite good in terms of the
yeah,
value that you get for the money you pay. Yeah.
because it's like what 15, $16, and I can get six family members, so it's like I don't know what is that, $3 a person, right?
Three
Yeah,
bucks, 3 bucks. Yeah.
Yeah.
it's pretty good value.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Cool. All right, everyone. Thank you so much for watching. Please subscribe. Let us know in the comments below what music service that you would keep. We really appreciate it, and check it out. Check us out next time on Monday. Appreciate it.
Sayonara.